So up next, guys, we have the amazing Jodi Knowles. We talked about her earlier. Jodi's been traveling for the last 2 years or so, right, Paul?
Yep, she's perm now, but she was with us on assignment all across the U.S. She's lived the dream that most people dream of, and she's promised us some great tips to share with you and how you could live that dream thanks to this little miracle that we call travel nursing.
Travel nursing, the miracle. Well, let's see if we can get her to talk about references and see if...
She'll know.
She'll know. All right, guys, let's bring her on. All right, guys, up next, we have the amazing Jodi Knowles. Jodi has been an experienced traveler. She's traveling for the last 2 years or so, right, Paul?
Yeah, she traveled with us for about 2 years, now in a permanent position. Very happy. But yeah, she started out her career in Rapid City, South Dakota, moved across the country, down to Florida, came out here to Colorado, New York. So she's been across the U.S. and has some really great experience, and we're excited to have you on, Jodi.
Awesome. Yeah, let's bring her on. Jodi, are you there?
Thank you. Yes.
Hey.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Welcome to our podcast. So Jodi, tell us about yourself. Let's get the basics out of the way. Like, why'd you become a nurse? How long have you been a nurse? What was your, what made you decide to do travel nursing?
So I went into nursing right out of high school. Kind of took some time off, but I knew right in high school that nursing is something that I wanted to do. I liked people. I liked working with people. I knew it was a good, solid career. And so I went to college after high school, got into nursing school at NCTC in Gainesville, which is a 2-year program. And after I graduated in 2012, I ended up getting my job at Parkland. I went into the operating room 1 or 2 times during my schooling and realized I wanted to go into the operating room. I just love teamwork. I've always been an adrenaline junkie. And all through school, I was looking for that one specialty that I wanted to do. And the one time I got in there was just a great experience. Even in school, I had heard about traveling nursing, though, that it's a great time. If you're single, you can go see the country. I've always been a traveling bug. I've been everywhere. Even before I drove to South Carolina and stayed by myself there in San Diego, and to work and make money and do it was just like a dream. But I knew I couldn't do it without having experience first. So that's when I got my job at Parkland in Dallas. That's where I started. And I did their 9-month residency program in the operating room and stayed with them for about 3.5 years. Felt like I had a good base under me. There were travelers there that I told them I was interested in traveling, and they said I'd be good at it. And I took the leap and called 4 or 5 different companies until I got to Paul. And then it kind of started from there, basically.
Awesome. So now, how long were you core staff before you started traveling?
3.5 years.
3.5 years? Do you think that, because most agencies require between 1 and 2 years, do you think having that extra year, that extra 2 years of experience as a nurse before you started traveling, did that give you a leg up? Did you feel more comfortable on the first assignment?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I knew once I started talking to people that were travelers, they were like, you're really good, but stick with it another year or so. And then I think you've got it down. It may be different on other services, but I know in the operating room, you don't get to see much stuff. I was lucky enough to see everything. And by that 3 years, when I woke up in the morning to go to work, I wasn't like, oh my God, I hope I'm not put in this case or that case. And I really felt ready. And once I was ready, they were like, yeah, you're ready to go. Because I just started getting kind of a bad attitude. And so they're like, you need to see other places. Because working at one place, you can think, oh, it's terrible here. You have nothing to compare it to. And they were like, you're going to do great. So I took their advice. I felt ready. I had enough confidence from my peers. And I took the job in South Dakota, which was crazy because I asked Paul to go to Austin or somewhere closer.
And he was like, no, girl, you want to go to South Dakota.
Rapid City.
Well, I asked, and he asked me, he goes, I have this really high paying job. And I'm like, okay, I'm willing to check it out. And he told me, and I was like, you know what? I'm traveling to go to places I've never seen before. I've been to Austin, like, let's do this.
Awesome.
And it really did give me a leg up. Everywhere I went, I found out like, wow, I know a lot more than I thought I did. Like training other employees at other hospitals, knowing a lot more. Like that's how much they could see like that I had a good base.
That's awesome. Yeah, I hear it's important. So I'm glad that you came on and said that, because that would be something we would want to talk about to new travelers.
Yeah.
And Jodi, I mean, we talked about this, the other night too. And, going on your first travel assignment is very nerve-wracking. And, what did you experience? How did you feel when you first went up to South Dakota? And, how did you get through that?
I felt like I was ready to go. I felt it was the right time. I was in a weird spot where all my friends are kind of getting married. I was like, this is a good time for me to go ahead and go. And I talked to Paul for at least 4 or 5 months before, like in January before I started. And I want to make sure I was ready. And I don't know if Paul knows this, but I wanted to back out so bad. The closer it got to it, I was having these great days at work. And I'd be like, why am I leaving? Like, this is great for me. I'm established. And people were like, we're going to miss you. But even to where I lost $200 on an admin fee because I was going to stay 1 more year. And I backed out like a week before they would let me. Like, I don't know if you know that, Paul.
No, I didn't. I'm glad you didn't.
Right.
No. Well, I just went back and forth and I was like, no, like it's scary to go off by yourself. And it is hard to take that step, no matter how much confidence you have, no matter it's everything set up. I had my housing. It's hard to change and just get in your car and move to another state, which following the 2 weeks after I got to South Dakota, I still had those same feelings. Like, what did I do? Yeah. Like when my mom left after driving me there, I felt really alone and like still questioning my decision. But the thing in the back of my head was, I have anybody told me, if you need anything, I'll be there. And it's just a phone call away. If I want to come back in 13 weeks, I can go back to the hospital I left. Because they told me that. And I said, if I don't like it, can I come back? And they were like, yes, absolutely. Yeah. And so I just kept telling myself 13 weeks. If I don't like it, I can come back. It's not that huge of a change. Well, 2 years later, it all worked out. But I always felt a little alone at each assignment that I went to. Yeah. And I always got like, oh, am I doing the right thing? What if I hate it here? It's totally normal. Like change is not normal. It's so easy to stay in one spot. But if you just do it, I mean, I've had some amazing experiences and met amazing people everywhere I went, no matter what. I'd be like, it's okay. I'm going to meet people like towards the end of it.
And so, how did you deal with that? I know you've met some really good friends, Heather up in Rapids. Yeah. How did you, because you were working for a couple weeks before you guys actually started hanging out, and what advice would you give to a traveler, going into a new place and having to prove your worth and trying to make friends along at that, so it's not as lonely as
right. So almost every place I've been to, I've been able to hold on to about 2 or 3 really good friends there. But it wasn't without like weeks to a month of being there where they're like, oh, this girl will help me out or whatever. Or, just those few people that you click with. But you have to know that everybody knows that you're new. They need your help. And most people are like, thank you for coming. There's those few people that make you feel like you're not welcome. But for the most part, people are okay with you there. And you need to just have an open mind and not shut people off. And I would just go up to people, ask them about themselves. Hey, I'm Jodi. Like, I haven't met you yet. I'm so sorry. And she's like waking up. I haven't met you yet. Be proactive about telling people about yourself. Like, when I go into a room and I don't know people, I say, hey, I'm Jodi, I'm working with you today. And I know it can be hard to like interrupt a conversation, or a surgeon walks in, or a nurse walks in, and everybody's told you like, oh, she's kind of hard to get along with. I just say, be yourself, make people acknowledge that you're there and you're there to help them. And I don't want to take over your space, but then people start talking to me. Like when I sit down in the break room by myself, where are you from? They're used to travelers usually in these places that you go. So just be open to conversations and know that you're not going to get along with everybody, just like every place that you're going to go into. But people are going to be wary of you and cautious first. And you have to be okay with that, and okay with proving like, I do know my stuff. And after 2 weeks, everywhere I went, everybody kind of opened up to me and they were like, oh, she's good.
Mm-hmm.
So
did you find, the anxiety you mentioned with, or like those nerves going on a new assignment, has that gotten better with each new assignment? Was it less time, or was it kind of the same set, or, was it any tricks to get around that?
Yeah, it was, I'd always have that anxiety a little bit driving there and starting first day. But the last time at New York, I felt really confident. And even though it was New York, I knew it might be the hardest people to get through to. But it did get better because I'd done it before and I know what to expect. And I got this like, I call Paul and be like, oh, they're just like, I'm not getting treated very well. And he's like, just, put your head down. If anybody's really like getting on you or being inappropriate, then I just go to my manager, which I had to a few times, but I knew how to act and how to deal with people towards the end of it. So I felt really confident in being able to meet people that I knew I would be able to meet, at each place. But one thing Heather did to me, which was really funny, I've never actually done to people, but she noticed we would get along. We're the same age. She'd been traveling before me, and she just walked into the room that I was in, asked me if I needed any help setting my case up. And she was like, here's my number. I'm Heather. I don't have any friends. Call me if you want to hang out. And she just like walks out of the room. And I was like,
sounds like one of our
okay.
recruiters that works here.
Yeah.
Which that's okay too. Like, and then we became good friends. I was shy, so I wasn't going to like ask her. So like sometimes if you do see another traveler or someone even permanent that might be too shy to ask you, just be like, hey, I'm looking for people to hang out with. I'm new here. That's what I ask people.
Yeah.
That's cool. So now, Jodi, you did mention, as Paul and I know, and anybody that travels knows, sometimes travelers, they don't get treated the best on assignment. They do get that cold shoulder. They do get, bullied. And you kind of mentioned you had dealt with that before. What's your, kind of give us some more information on how you've adapted to new assignments, how you've kind of gotten around that, those nurses or those staff members that are kind of bullying or belittling the travelers, or just won't give you the time of day. Like, is there just kill them with kindness, or tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, a little bit of kill them with kindness, but do your job, but don't let them be inappropriate in the setting. You have to kind of put your foot down. And what I say is everybody has their ways of doing things. So you have to be adaptable. I know you don't like doing it, the flow of things this way, but they don't really care what you have to say. There's been some places that asked me in my opinion, but it was the managers, but the staff just go along with what they say, adapt to it. And then once you get on your own after orientation, you can kind of do your own thing. But if it's not hurting the patient, I would just say, okay. Or if they would tell me something like simple, like SEDs go on this way, or you need to put them on before induction, something that I learned the first week in the OR, I would just say, oh, okay. And understand that each place they're going to do that to you. And then it isn't until they really start like treating you like you can't work together. Like if somebody talks to me like in front of the patient, or they're telling me I'm doing something wrong, or a surgeon is like, why don't we have this, this, and this? My go-to every time is, what can we do to fix this? Like, I'm sorry that we're not on the same page. Like, what can we do to fix this? And if they keep going, my thing is to always say, stop the line and let's speak with a manager in front of this. For this conversation, I want a manager in the conversation for the rest of this. And I've never had any problems after that. But it's when you continue to argue and they don't know you, they're going to be like, oh, this new traveler, blah, 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 blah. It's so easy to target you. But if you try to work with them and understand their process, and I just say, I'm sorry, I'm just not used to this, but I'm willing to learn. You may not like it, but you just kind of have to go with it. And I've never had a manager not have my back when I went to them first. And then it always got resolved. Or if I didn't go to the manager, I called Paul, and Paul would help me out with whatever situation I couldn't get resolved there, which maybe only happened one time.
That's you should start traveling again, because that was like the best advice that we as recruiters always preach. You know, be flexible, be adaptable, don't push back.
Stay in your lane.
Well,
if they do an assignment differently,
I've argued back too, and I've tried to like say like why, and they don't care. Like they just don't care, and that's just not the best way. Or it's like, I'm sorry, that's just what I'm used to. But if you think this is a better way, then I'll do it, and that's fine. If it's not hurting the patient or not like backing us up or like making our flow really bad, then I'll do it for you.
That's awesome. That's like the best advice. Thank you.
Yes.
You said exactly what I wanted you to. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And Jodi, we talked about this the other night too. Workflow, and when you are going into a scenario where they need travelers for a reason, whether if they had a bunch of nurses walk off, or if it's maternity leave, or, maybe they just have a revolving door, how do you handle that, when you go into a new assignment and
in a loaded situation.
Yeah. And it's loaded. And, have you ever experienced, someone that was supposed to start, maybe another travel nurse that, was coming in with you, that she called off or she canceled? Have you ever experienced that? Has that affected you?
Yeah. I think you mean like, in New York, it happened. This lady had started with me. She was, maybe about 3 weeks after me. And, I kind of had a hard time with their orientation, and she came in and she was like bubbly. She was like me. She's like, oh yeah, I'm adaptable. I'm like, whatever you say, I've been doing this for so long, blah, blah, blah. And I said, just be careful. They're going to push you. People do it different in every room. Is that what you're talking about? Like,
Yeah.
cause she ended up leaving like 2 weeks later. Like, and I tried to warn her and she didn't understand. And she came to me and she was like, I can't handle this. And she got like a bad rap. And they told me they can't keep travel RNs there. And I told her that, and she was like, oh, trust me, they say that to me everywhere. And she left after like 2 weeks after that. And I just, like I said, we handled things differently. She got hostile in one situation about counts, came to me crying about it, asking if she was in the wrong, and she wasn't. But I explained to her, like, you just have to say, okay, like, what do you want me to do? And then if you can't get it resolved, ask for a manager to come in. But she couldn't handle that. So, and there in Florida, they had a bad time holding on to nurses. People were quitting, and I could understand it. But the permanent staff nurses didn't understand it, but I understood when I got there. They'd try to ask me what I thought about what was their problem, and I would tell them. But nothing seemed to be resolved at the time. So you're not there to fix their problems. You can give them advice, what you think could make them better, but you have to realize they don't care really what you think.
They're in their ways, and a traveler comes in and they see different facilities and how other ORs and how other floors are ran, and like, oh, it would be really great this way, and they're like, no, we're okay. We're going to keep doing it this way. And
I think that's got to be one of the cool things about being a travel nurse, though, is especially in the OR, like you may be do one case in your hospital over and over, and it's the same way, and you go on an assignment, you're going to do that same case, but it's going to be different. And so you get like you said, if you're adaptable and you're willing, like you're going to expand and make your skill set wider and get better at your skill set. I think that's cool. Like, and so
Yeah.
that you're saying adaptability is key is awesome.
Yeah, I'm like, I know I don't know everything. And that's the problem. Like, I'm always open to like, well, let me see your way of doing it. Maybe it's better than mine. Like, there's been things that I'm like, dang, I like that. Or my little arm board on the other side, just a little
Mm-hmm.
saving your back from bending down to put it. They're like, now everybody does that in Florida. Like, it's a great idea, just something small, but
It's the
being
Jodi
open minded,
move.
not being like, why do you do that? Like, all right, well, I'll explain to you the reason why I do it. And I say, explain to me why you do it this way. If somebody's like, don't put that on there, like, we're like, okay, I just thought this way or whatever, but why do you do it this way? And they'll tell me, well, we've had this happen. I'm like, oh, okay, well, good to know. And that's it.
That's cool.
Like, yeah, you have to be open minded.
Yes. So now, Jodi,
sure.
you've been traveling for a while. And do you normally find your own housing?
Yes, I do.
Give us some housing tips. Where do you look? What's your go-to website for, I'm a new traveler. I've never traveled before. Where do I go?
I might get a lot of crap for this, but Craigslist is where I found all of my housing.
Gross.
I know, but it wasn't through like scams and knowing what to look for. And I shoot Paul a message, hey, can you look this up for me? Make sure it's not a scam. I mean, I did that everywhere, but South Dakota, rural places like Rapid City, they're not in Airbnb. They don't even have Uber or Lyft out there.
They do now.
Do they? God,
Yes,
I could
they
use
do,
that for that
finally.
airport ride. Yeah, but I like older people that own these houses, they would do either like put their ads in the paper or old school stuff like that. And Craigslist is the first like ad source that they know about, but you have to weed through it.
Mm-hmm.
There are some good people out there that are actually renting houses. They're usually older or not very much tech savvy with it. And they don't want to do the fees of Airbnb, which makes it so expensive.
Yep.
Airbnb was so expensive and I didn't necessarily want a roommate. I had a dog. I might have gotten lucky, but it wasn't like skimming through scams for like weeks. I had to work hard for it.
Definitely got to do research with Craigslist because there are those scams. With a dog, did you find that as a challenge? Did you have any added troubles finding housing with a pet?
No, most people, it really narrowed it down for me, but most people she's small and she's 10 and I get her walked if I'm working long days, but I try not to have to do that. I told him if she had to be at a daycare, I could work with them, but I never had to do that. I would just pay a deposit like $500 or something. But my first housing, and Heather and I ended up moving in together because we extended in South Dakota. It's like $500 a month each for South Dakota. And then my other was $625 in Florida and $1,600 in New York, which was kind of high because it's New York. But those first two where they were under 1,000 is what really like got me up there. But I just ended up finding these people and being like, are you a scammer? Like making sure to do my checks, not sending money. Like I can have someone check out the house before I come over there. Like you have to be proactive about it. But I found, I think, the best deals.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But
was not the answer I was expecting.
Yeah. I mean, you can always go to a certain location and like, and scope it out.
Yeah.
You know, when you get there and, get a hotel for
a couple weeks and get
a night or two.
Get your feet on the ground down there.
Well, that wouldn't be my first pick. I would post on the Travel Nurse Housing Gypsy website on Facebook and try there first.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people said they had a room or a basement or something, or it was too far. And then I would try Airbnb, but it was just too expensive with my housing here in Dallas as well. So that was always like my last check, but I would keep my eye out on the Travel Nurse Housing Gypsy website, the group on Facebook, or word of mouth. I'd ask other travel friends first, but it just so happened that every time. I found it through Craigslist.
And when you extended in South Dakota, obviously you and Heather became closer, good friends, and how was that? When we traveling, would you suggest that to a travel nurse to travel with a friend or a buddy? And is it worth it? Saving money on cost and loneliness, or would you think it would be better to go out on your own? And there's more flexibility if you're out on your own. Like, how can you give us some advice on that?
Yeah, I think it's the same as looking for houses on Craigslist. You just
Yeah.
have to skim through the people that, get some background on them, get to know them. I think it's great to travel with a friend. I've done it both ways. Heather and I just clicked so fast. I didn't think I was going to find a friend like that. I was very thankful, and it made me very confident on the rest of my travels, and having her experience with mine, it made Florida so much tolerable. We were like, if you weren't with me, we wouldn't have been able to do this, basically. So I think it's great to have a friend travel with you if you guys can go get in the same area and you can stand living together and traveling together. It's stressful, but I do suggest finding a buddy to do it with.
Yeah.
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 But it's easy to do. You can do it by yourself too if you have the right personality to meet people.
Yep.
I'm not saying that's not doable either, but
So in all your travels, what is one thing that you couldn't travel without? You took it with you on every assignment, and your dog doesn't count because that's obvious.
something that I took with me.
Yeah, I mean, did you find furnished housing? Would you take kitchen equipment? Would you?
Oh yeah, I
take a
found
TV?
furnished housing. I would always take my own bedding with me, my own pillow. But I found that each place I went, I was like, I don't need this. I don't need this. The packing and unpacking can get daunting. And you find out 3 months is really quick. Dang, I got to do this all again. The minimalist thought about it is the best because you buy things when you're out on the road and you want to take it back with you, but you realize, dang, I bought a lot more clothes or souvenirs or whatever. And I found myself having to ship a box one time because I had too much from that assignment. But it's, if you have your own place back home, keep your pictures, keep everything back home, all those little things you're not going to need. Of course, it just depends on how OCD you are. And if you want to bring your own cooking stuff, you can, but all of that stuff was always provided for us. And I always made sure that it was. Those were the questions that I asked on the phone with the renters. I need kitchen stuff. I need to where I just bring my clothes, my bedding, and myself and my bathroom stuff for sure.
Okay.
Good.
Any kind of bathroom towels, but some people might be different.
And when you took some time off in between contracts, you were always very active and going on different trips and concerts. You took full advantage of the flexibility that travel nursing is able to provide. How did you plan your assignments around all your trips and going back home?
So I knew certain dates, like holidays or whatever, my birthday, that I would need to have off. I usually tried not to ask off for much during my assignments because I knew that I could take off in between and plan whatever. But my first assignment after South Dakota, which was 7 months, I took 2 months off, which was not entirely planned, but because we were trying to look for that Florida assignment for Heather and I.
Yeah.
And I wasn't completely prepared for that, but it worked out okay. And I hadn't had more than a week off at a time ever since I was working since I was 16. I just thought, you know what, I'm going to take this time off. And when I get back, I get back. And it was so nice. And then you guys were just whenever you want to come back, just let me know, or you'd let me know when an assignment would pop up. Do you think you could do this? And it was very laid back. We ended up going to Florida, and Heather and I planned a 4-day weekend or something, which they weren't very flexible. And we knew that, but we planned a 4-day weekend to have off together, just one. And we always had holidays off. So they always acknowledged my time off that I would ask for, which you don't want to ask for too much, because the one time that I did, they were very flexible with me because I didn't. There was only one place that didn't acknowledge my time off. And I just got with Paul and I was like, hey, can you just check with them with this? It was in my contract. I always make sure it's in my contract. And if it's not, then I ask them like 6 weeks ahead, or like as far advance and ahead as possible. Because you're there because they need people. They can't just have you going on vacation the whole time, and you should have enough time off in between assignments to get your stuff done or go on vacations. And that was the case for me. That was nice. I miss that. I haven't built up a lot of PTO yet, but
that's awesome. Well, I mean, do you have any other tips, any other advice that you'd like to give the audience?
I think that if you're thinking about travel nursing and you're not sure about it, make a goal that in 2 to 3 months' time, if you're still thinking about it, pursue it and just try it out. It's only 13 weeks. A lot of people have come to me and been like, gosh, I'm so jealous of your travels and you look like you have such a great time. And I do, but every experience is different and it's what you make it yourself.
Yep. It's not for everybody.
All the comments that you see on the websites or a bad experience someone had, I had bad experiences too, as some places, but there was always good things to make up for it. And you need to understand that every person is different. Every experience is different. And it is just how you make it and how you adapt to the changes. And if you're proactive in making friends, you're going to make friends. People are, for the most part, that I've experienced, very nice, just all together anywhere that I've been. If you are truly looking for people to hang out with or just tips or tricks, people are there for you. You're not alone. And it's a great, great way to make good money and see the world, basically. Meet new people.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Jodi, thank you so much for joining us today. I mean, you sound like a great nurse, a great person. I know Paul has always enjoyed working with you, so thank you for
miss you.